presenters here with me, so why don't we get going? I know there's other presentations on the docket today. Nobody wants to take more time than we did. Oh, see, are you trying to butter us up now?
Absolutely.
Okay. You think for the fourth time I'd be able to throw at this?
Just
okay.
For the record.
I think I'd be a pro at this. I'm still navigating this every single time. Google is sharing my screen. Do you guys see that?
We see it.
All right.
Janice.
All right. So good evening, late afternoon, I don't know, and welcome to our fourth formal presentation for the Capitoline South Extension, again being hosted by Capitoline Design Build Limited, which is a member of the LEDCOR group of companies with AECOM as their design partner. I think most folks know me by now. I'm Larissa Alcar. I'm the Sustainable Urban Integration, or SUI, lead for the project, and I'm joined by 4 other design team members presenting today. They include Vance Harris, who's the architect of record for the I'm going to confuse things. The Twin Brooks station is the one we're talking about today. Nargis Degani, the architect of record for Twin Brooks Utility Complex, and then Jill Robertson, who's the landscape architect for the whole project. And I'll also mention we got a few other folks from different organizations joining the call, including the City of Edmonton, as well as the Owner's Engineering Team, which is Capitoline Partners. Yeah, this is kind of the slide you see every single time we present. It's Capitoline South Extension is a large mega infrastructure project with many components that we've broken up into the 4 presentations listed here. We're still toying with the idea of doing a 5th formal presentation, perhaps later this year, early next year, that would cover more SUIs globally or landscape architecture along the corridor. But today, like I said, we're focusing on Twin Brooks Station and the Twin Brooks Utility Complex, and would kindly ask we tailor questions accordingly. Quick overview of the agenda. I'm just here to do a quick overview, introducing the team, bit of a lay of the land, and I'm really going to hand it off to my co-presenters. And we have 20 minutes total. We don't think we're going to take the full 20, but wanted to give ourselves a bit of a buffer over the usual 10. And with that, I'm going to pass things off to Vance.
Thank you, as always, Larissa. I will not take the opportunity to butter you up at this time, but I appreciate the intro. Yeah, Larissa's right. We don't anticipate taking all that much time. This is really building on a conversation. I know Larissa said, we're not here to talk about Heritage Valley, but having already spoken about Heritage Valley, I did want to point out that we have been approaching this entire line through the notion of a family, a kit of parts. So a lot of the comments I will be making, particular to Twin Brooks, do relate back to Heritage Valley. So I'm not going to be as blunt as Larissa and say we can't talk about Heritage Valley, because we kind of are. A quick note here, though, and then the main difference in our mind between these 2 sites, and we'll get into more differences in a moment, is that this is not a terminus station. And although Heritage Valley might not always be a terminus station, it did for a decent amount of time need to act as a terminus station at a bus exchange in a context that we anticipate to be changing potentially dramatically over the coming years and decades. If we go to the next slide, Larissa. Twin Brooks is not that. It is not a terminus, nor is it in a context that we anticipate changing very much, either in the short or long term. While we recognize that the site itself might have, people might have opinions about the site itself, we've actually taken that sensitivity into account in designing a platform and a canopy that, in our opinion, is a much quieter statement while being of the same kit of parts as we discussed previously for Heritage Valley. I'm sure you all know the site quite well, so maybe we'll just get into the weeds. If we go into the next slide, Larissa. So the site itself, and just for clarification, north is to the left to allow the image to appear in a little bit larger format. I mentioned the residential neighborhood, and we don't anticipate that changing. What we have had agency to achieve in the siting of the station, though, is how it relates to the shared use pathway, and we'll be touching on that further in the presentation, including into the landscape and urban realm section. But it is quite important in terms of how one gets to and interacts with the platform, whether you're actually going to take the train or you happen to be passing the station on another journey on the shared use pathway. We wanted the station to be both very accessible, and it is designed to be completely and universally accessible, but not imposing. It's not blocking your way. It's not taking up too much space. But it is, and maybe if we go to the next slide, taking advantage of the fact that it does sit on the corner of 111th and 9th. There is an existing service station on the corner. One change that is occurring as a result of our station landing in this locale is a reduction in the access points to the service station to be just off of 9th now. Partially because of that, and partially because of our ability to get a new crossing at 111th, we do anticipate that there will be a higher level of riders approaching the station from the south. That said, we have taken a very equitable approach to both the north and south ends of the station and treated them equally. So there's no front door, nor is there a back door, even though we might secretly think that more people might use one over the other. So if we switch on to the plan, this is, it's a very typical 125 meter long platform, 7.3 meters wide. We have our heated shelters that are transparent. We are minimizing visual obstructions to the greatest degree possible while hitting all of the design requirements for shrouded columns and enclosure of all vertically run infrastructure. It creates a much cleaner aesthetic. It does create columns of a certain size, but we've managed to at least keep all of the content within those columns. So nothing that you haven't really seen in Edmonton in terms of platform layout. Where it does change or become a little bit more bespoke is in the elevation. So Larissa, if we go to the next slide. So you recall from Heritage Valley, we were playing off of some of the existing language at the transit exchange and the fact that it really needed to respond to 4 active edges. We see this station at Twin Brooks as having those 2 equitable end conditions that I mentioned already in terms of entry to and egress from the platform. We're inflecting the roof up at the ends to serve that function, but we're also intentionally inflecting those roof forms towards the shared use pathway that runs along the east side of the station. It's basically presenting the station to the pathway and then being a little bit quieter facing west to the adjacent neighborhood. To the west, you're just getting the level band of roof form. It's as visually unobtrusive as we could make it, considering the neighbors' sight lines. Maybe in getting into some of the materiality, and I touched on the full containment of all services. If we go to the next image, Larissa. So there's this, and the next image will be from the platform. But here, as you're moving past on the shared use pathway, of course, you've got the 111th in this image off to the left, to the east. But we have utilized the landscape buffer before the track as a way of visually sort of blending the sight lines from the shared use path up to the platform. Although, of course, the platform has to be raised from a functional standpoint, and there isn't a direct physical connection. We wanted there to be at least a visual connection through the platform space. Primarily, though, people's eyes are going to be cast up to the underside of the soffit, and that was also why we wanted to inflect these corners of the roof up. If we go to the next image, we get in a little bit closer actually. So here you see of note the column shrouds that are somewhat ubiquitous, but do allow us to conceal everything. The glazed shelters that again are as visually unobtrusive as possible. I would say the approach that we've taken here, and we did receive some comments and good comments, by the way, at our last presentation around, was there a consideration of mass timber? Well, yes, there was. Would it potentially have been an easier technology to employ here? Yes, potentially less so on Heritage Valley. So we did make decisions on the overall assemblies based on what was good for the whole, not just for what was good for any one station. The advantage we do get though, and I will point out, however, we do still have a wood soffit. This is still a real wood soffit, not a faux look. But this allows us in creating a cavity in behind to fully conceal all our linear LEDs, fully conceal all our conduit, which is a design requirement. But we actually feel quite strongly that while the decision was made to go with a non-CLT approach, we've leaned into this non-CLT approach by keeping the aesthetic as clean and tight as we could possibly leverage. And that's one of the advantages, frankly, of going with this method of construction. I will pass the mic off to Jill. I've already taken a couple of swipes at the landscape, so maybe I'll let Jill build upon those, and happy to answer any questions when we get there.
Yeah, thanks, Vance. You did tee me up really well, as the goal from a landscape architectural approach is really to emphasize the pedestrian comfort and user experience for this station. It's identified as part of the pedestrian priority zone, and so sight lines were particularly important. So a lot of the plant species were selected based on maximizing sight lines and still providing a reasonable vegetated buffer. We wanted the space to feel lovely and lush and have all season interest, and really try to maximize just that experience of coming to the station, but also walking by the station. And I think that previous render really shows that to a good extent. If you jump to the next slide, Larissa, we have talked about we've talked about site furnishings before and some of the competing priorities. The same comments apply. We continue to work through that. This station is guided by the existing Metroline design language, so there is an established palette of site furniture that's used elsewhere on the line, and we are at this moment showing that continuation of that site furnishings, and so you see those elements here. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Narges, who's going to talk about the utility complex.
Thank you, Jill. This slide again shows the utility complex and its relation to the Twinbrook station. The placement ensures minimal disruption to the community and maintain proximity to key infrastructure. Next, please. So the utility complex is designed as an efficient facility. It plays a critical role in the whole LRT system. We've prioritized a small footprint for the building as the rest of the UC buildings. This reduces the land disturbance, and the utility connections like water, power, and drainage are all strategically placed, so it eases the maintenance of that. Also, the design incorporates safety and security measures, including lighting, fencing, clear signage, etc. It will all helps for the security of the site. Next, please. From an urban design perspective, the building reflects 4 key principles. First of all, the contextual integration. For example, the landscape buffers the building for a better visual impact. Secondly, the civic presence of the building, despite of its utilitarian function, the building maintains a clean, modern form with articulated facades. The third principle is pedestrian interface, like sidewalks and retaining walls to support safe movement of the people around the site. And finally, sustainability through durable materials and thermal strategies. We want to ensure long-term resilience and low maintenance of the building. Next, please. Talking about materiality, we've talked about this on the other UC buildings as well. The material palette is inspired by both transit infrastructures and the surrounding environment. We have used solid masonry, metal fascia panels, and clear story glazing. And the color scheme, like the beige brick, dark gray, louvers, the bronze aluminum panel, etc. They all evoke natural tones of soil and stone and help the building to blend better into the landscape to maintain a strong and grounded presence. Next, please. Here you can see the 4 elevations of this building from both sides, and you can see the clear story windows and all other materials we used on the building. Next, please. I added this slide. It wasn't originally in the presentation, but I added this because of the previous presentations. We got the question about the fascia thickness or depth of the other utility buildings. This section view helps to clarify that the fascia depth is directly influenced by our structural joists, that, as you can see. Also, it was a design requirement to continue the interior ceiling towards the exterior soffit with a similar material. So both of these issues causes the thickness of the fascia to be what it is now in our design. Also, from a design standpoint, this section shows the proportion of the fascia in relation to the overall height of the building. In the section, it's easier to see that it's a good proportion. It's not a very large proportion that might feel different from different views that we made with our 3D models. And I think with this, I should hand over to Jill to talk about landscape. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll finish this up quickly. Somewhat different than the station, the utility complex has a naturalized landscape design. It's meant to blend into the existing plant palette that you'd find in the Blackmud Creek Ravine. And it's really about softening and embedding this building, that's a really functional building, into the landscape. If you go to the next slide, it's one of the more technical drawings. So similar to other utility buildings in the OMF on the site, we are juggling a lot of below grade infrastructure. So areas that look like they are just open or have been maybe not as well planted as they could be are actually responding to quite a significant amount of below grade infrastructure. So we really are trying to thread the needle about where we can place plants within the landscape, given that there's so many infrastructure constraints. And in the last slide, it just shows the plant palette that we're using, again, leaning heavily into naturalized species that require low maintenance and really are reflective of the context so that this building starts to feel like it's always been there. This is an area of the site or the alignment I'm losing some of the naturalized planting for the construction of this building. And so really we're trying to put a lot of that back. And with that, I think that's the end of our presentation. And so we look forward to questions from the committee.
Thank you so much. On that note, we'll jump in, looking at my standard line, and get right into the committee conversation. Leading us off is Nick.
Thanks for the Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thanks for the presentation, and I appreciate how you've changed the multi-purpose trail to outside next to the road instead of where it was originally. So I think that's a significant improvement. I do have probably 2 questions. Overall, I'm generally happy with all the changes. I just have one with the new shared use path. There's no visual lighting along there. And I'm just wondering what you could comment perhaps around the lighting. And then the second one, just in regards to the utility building, isn't it, I know there's a shared use path on the west side of 111th there, but why wouldn't we put one on the east side just using a 1.8 meters side trail? I just noticed it's not on the illustration of the utility building. I know there's not one there now, but given it's such a wide road and busy, why there wouldn't be that connection through. So those are my two comments.
I can actually maybe jump in for the team on the first question or comment, Nick, about the lighting of the SUP. It wasn't heavily evident in the materials presented, but the street lighting team that we're working closely with, they have the roadway light fixtures in that both sides of 111th Street. So those, because they're directly almost above that SUP, we're getting that light from them rather than having to introduce standalone pedestrian light fixtures, which would have had to have been the case when the SUP was west of the station. And it was, not great for a variety of other reasons. So that will meet all the minimum lighting levels by using, like I said, the kind of, if you will, shared use fixtures because of light both the roadway and the SUP. But I do know that the city did receive comments about any sort of pedestrian connection along the east side of 111th Street as part of the informal presentations as well. And like you said, there is nothing existing along the east side along that stretch, like the PED connection across Blackwood Creek has always been exclusive to the west side. And that's been continued through the design. I'm not sure if anyone, my default is usually Eva. I'm sure there's so much history here of like the idea of introducing both an east and west pedestrian connection along the length of 111th Street. But as far as I know, there's no plans on, adding an additional east pedestrian connection from, I guess it'd be almost like Saddleback Road or 19th Ave across Black Mud Creek and then heading all the way to 9th Ave. That whole east side of the 111th Street remains to have no pedestrian connectivity, and it's exclusively along the west side.
And I understand from 12th Avenue going north, the bridge only has on one side, so if I'm not mistaken. So, that sort of makes sense, but just that block would just add value, I think, given it is a wide road, to take someone down to the next intersection. It's pretty busy even with the construction going on now that people are using on that side. And I know because I'm pretty active in that area.
Do you mean between 12th Ave and 9th Ave? So not actually north of 12th Ave by the UC, it's actually connecting between them.
So from 9th Ave going down 12th Ave.
Yeah.
I'm just clarifying whether, I guess it depends on the usage of the utility building, because even if you have employees there, having to get out of a car all the time isn't the greatest. There is shops to the south, down near 9th Avenue. So just creating that functionality, because I always think, I know if as a developer, the city would be asking for it. So it seems crazy that we're not creating that connection as part of this reconstruction, which is major reconstruction going on now, to think of, because it is quite a wide road to cross 111th. It is a very busy road. So just something to contemplate. So thank you very much. They're all my comments. I appreciate your presentation. I really, I do appreciate the design of the utility building. I think it matches with some of the other elements down along 111th with the other utility buildings. And I really appreciate the way you've listened to the committee on some of the changes they made. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, Shay, your turn.
All right. Can you guys see me okay? Doesn't look like my camera's on. There it is. Awesome. All right. Taking a look at this, I really only have one comment. Outside of the material, like I've kind of bought into the narrative of the project and how it flares up. So my comment's more along the massing. looking at the ceiling plan and particularly at the elevations, I feel like the project is missing something, especially when compared to Heritage Valley. It was about responding to different site components, and it allowed the ceiling to have a little bit more undulation across elevation. It was a lot more dynamic. It's currently looking at it in elevation. It feels very flat at the center of the project. And it does flare up at the end, but I feel like there's just one more, call it a lift up. And if I'm trying to offer a recommendation of kind of what that responds to with the rest of the urban condition, like I feel like even if it opens up closer to where this, what is it, the treescape kind of opens up along 111th, I think it would break up that flatness of the ceiling, allow for a lot more angles to be brought into the ceiling. It feels pretty flat, and I get why, but I feel like if you want to respond to something and not post-rationalize something, add to the design, but if it's naturally responding to something, I think that the tree line canopy really does help, and it'll provide a lot more interest to the ceiling and to the elevation while still not opening up back to the residential existing. So that's kind of my only main comment. I'm just looking at it and I feel like it's just missing one little massing tweak, and then it would allow itself to tie really closely back to the Heritage Valley design, which I really liked. So it offered a lot more dynamism for a pretty simple design. And I think I would highly recommend exploring something to the ceiling to break having a pretty flat datum line across the project. So if there's any comments, I'd welcome those, but I think that's my only main
No,
design.
I would just say, Shay, your comment makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It does make a lot of sense.
Cool. All right, that's all I had.
Thank you.
Well done, guys. It looks pretty good. And the utility complex makes a lot more sense in building section. I understand the brow a little bit, as we've been calling it. So I've been convinced. So thank you.
Great to hear that. Thank you.
Pass it on to Jonathan.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I had actually a similar comment to Shay. So yeah, that's good to know that was already addressed. I appreciate the changes that have been made since the previous time this came to the committee, and I think it's looking good. So yeah, I have no further comments. Thanks.
Easy peasy. Mindy.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you very much for your presentation. Just have to echo what Nick and Jonathan mentioned about the changes being integrated. It's looking really good. So thank you.
Okay. Greg.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I don't have any further questions or comments. I think it looks good. Thank you.
This is going fast. Karen.
It's good. I'm gonna go fast too. Yeah, nothing to add. Thanks for taking our comments into consideration. So thanks, guys.
I thought for sure Karen was going off on a long rant.
Oh yeah, I'm a ranter.
Hearing none. David.
I'm going to slow the process down. I do have a couple of questions. So, and I think there are ones that I actually asked the last time this project was in. So, it's really dealing with the edge conditions. So the questions I had was, I would be surprised if you haven't heard from the residents, but was there any noise abatement consideration, either fence wall or planting considerations in that boulevard space between the station and the existing residential homes in that area? So that's sort of one question, because I don't see any of that. And then the other one, which I know I asked the last time, was with the closure of the access to the Esso station off 111th. I'm just wondering, were there any sort of landscape improvements considered along that frontage? Because right now it's basically turf. So I don't know if there was any consideration from the design team or if any discussions with the owner of the property. So those are the two questions that I have.
I can jump in first, and maybe I'll rely on a couple other team members to jump in as well. So the existing residential properties to the west, the city actually took on a whole bunch of consultation with those private property owners, and actually the city took on the replacement of the existing property fences along that stretch. I'm not 100% confident. I don't know, Eva, Bob, David, the properties of that fence, replacement fence, is it a noise? I don't know if it was noise attenuation specifically. I know it was an improvement. And then I think even like the logistics of where that fence falls, I don't think it's a private property fence no longer. It's actually like a city right-of-way fence. Oftentimes I think everyone thinks that the train being closer is going to make things louder. Usually I think we find the reverse happens, that the train is quieter at times compared to the vehicular traffic when you do the modeling. So I don't know if that was the driving factor for that, but I don't know if someone from the city or Capline Partners wants to just confirm anything or debunk some of the things I've just shared with the committee.
I can just jump in. I think so. Larissa is correct. Like we did engage with the citizens along the corridor, as with any other LRT projects, quite extensively actually. And we also conduct noise studies along the way because we're introducing a brand new infrastructure down the corridor. Based on the studies, no formal noise attenuation is required based on the city's noise policy. But we did make the effort of engaging with the property owners along the corridor and had a visual screen fence replacement program that was undertaken as part of the early works for the project.
Okay. And yeah, and I guess the other question was, has there been any discussion with the business owner there about actually doing some improvements to their frontage as part of the station development?
Yeah, we've had, I would say, extensive engagement with the property owner because we are impacting their access, so one of their existing access. One of the kind of trade-offs with a commercial site is typically the sight line and versus the usage of the space. Like to add additional landscaping on their property would require reducing their usable area. So I don't think, I wasn't part of those direct conversations, but I don't believe that was as well received.
I wouldn't. Sorry, I wouldn't agree with that because they have a landscape frontage, and whenever they built that in originally, they really actually didn't fulfill their frontage requirements. So, and it seems such a shame to put all of that energy into all of the planting along the SUP and the edge of the station, and then have sort of this open grassland along the SO edge. It really doesn't, especially with how that landscaping is directing people and moving people along. Basically you walk out the south end of that station, and as I said, you basically walk onto this vast open grass area. So and I would suggest that maybe a little bit of planting be applied to that edge so that it fully sort of envelopes the station and helps with that sort of movement of people off of the south side of the station.
I don't know, David, if it was your comment on the first presentation that there was a similar comment about what was going on that parcel of land. And again, like the land ownership, it's not city-owned land. There's like an easement or whatever. So there's still conversations, I think, to be had with that private property owner. But what
all the energy that you've put into the landscape, along the east side of the station, right, and along the SUP, seems to get completely lost with not really sort of echoing that on the west side of the station. and defining that edge as well, and defining, as I said, that movement off the south end of the tracks or the station, and heading either west or east into the neighborhoods. So and I just
I was going to say the ownership of the land, I think, complicates things. Like the city, because they own the right of way, like city forestry, and all those parties will take over the ownership of all the landscape you see outside of that parcel of land. But that little kind of notch in the land boundary there, private property owned, it's like, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to maintain it? It wouldn't be city owned plantings. It would have to be, owned and maintained by that private property owner. And then I think it's going to come down to, okay, yeah, it'd be great, but then who's paying for it? Who's maintaining it? But it would not be city owned.
Oh, okay. As I said, like, I'm just making a suggestion. And as I said, like, we've been in these scenarios with private landowners adjacent to new LRT infrastructure. I won't mention the project, but there was never that discussion. And and as a result, it was the owner, it left a bad taste in the owner's mouth. So as I said, I just think that there is an opportunity there that enhances what has been presented and developed to date. So and then the only other question was just out of curiosity, like, the canopy design for the station. I noted that you have heated shelters and infrared heaters and things like that. But with regards to the design of that canopy, which I have no problem with, I'm just wondering how much, with respect to sort of doing a microclimatic sort of assessment, like how much shelter does that sort of provide from the sun, the wind, year round? Like, was there any sort of assessment done, or it really wasn't a major requirement or consideration?
I wouldn't say there was a lack of assessment, but the fact that we're extending the canopy the full possible width above the platform, we're maximizing potential reduction of solar gain, or giving the greatest amount of shading possible. The shelters, I mean, they're having 3 shelters gives a fair amount of opportunity to escape the wind. We haven't done, just to your direct question, we haven't done sort of microclimate evaluation of which side of the shelter would be more comfortable in any given climatic event. But certainly with full coverage and 3 shelters evenly distributed down the length, I think there's always going to be a place where you can go to escape whatever's falling from the sky, be it water or sun, and get out of the wind, either fully by being inside a shelter, or in a reduction approach by standing behind one of the shelters. But no, we didn't do exhaustive microclimate.
Yeah. Okay. Nope. As I said, just a question of curiosity. So anyway, thank you.
Fair question. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That leaves me. I have no fundamental concerns. It looks good. I really appreciate how, having seen a few of these now as part of this larger set of kit of parts, as you mentioned, it makes a lot of sense. Just as a curiosity, how many riders per day are you expecting on the station relative to, let's say, Heritage Valley?
Larissa, do you have the metrics on that?
We lost Larissa.
Oh, okay.
Vance. She had to go pick up her tiny human. So I don't know if
important.
Someone else from the team might be able to answer that ridership question.
I would have to take a quick look.
I was going to say
in the background. Yeah.
I don't have the number on the top of my head, but it would definitely be less than the boardings and the lightings at the Heritage Valley for sure. We do view, Twin Brooks as the neighborhood station, so it's really for serving the local direct catchment areas.
That's what it looked like from the larger plan. And I'm like, there's just not enough folks around here. So I'm like, it's going to be a lighter used station. And not a comment. It's like, well, I guess it's just curiosity. Do you explore options other than the shelters for breaking up winter wind and providing some relief that don't involve standing in a glass box, which is probably the best solution? Hard to beat the glass box.
Short answer, Neil, is no. I mean, there's a certain amount of just operationally prescriptive expectation around number and distribution of shelters. But I share your curiosity. I think that there is opportunity in these at grade but slightly elevated platforms to explore different, microclimate responses. Probably because this is a shallower overall platform width, but there's not room to do both. So once the decision was made to go with these great glass shelters, that sort of set the path. But I like the thinking.
Alternating diagonal buff. I don't know the right solution, but yeah, it was a curiosity. So anyway, that went pretty well. We're going to deliberate now. You're more than welcome to stick on or travel your merry ways. Either way, we're going to get back to you, I believe, in about 48 hours or so with our formal letter. And thank you. And we're going to deliberate.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Okay, folks. You all should have received the link to our template. That's for all of them. This one pretty fast. David, you had some more substantial concerns around some adjacency. Nick, were your concerns addressed fully on some of the connectivity?
Yeah, so for me, I've just added a recommendation around trying to support the connection, and that's to the utility center and it's to the LRT. It's just a missing link on that sidewalk. That's really the main part that I guess I live in the neighborhood, so I know it pretty well. But there is a goat trail that's created along there. So so there's good reason to put just a standard 1.8 meter sidewalk in there. I find it strange that they wouldn't do it during such a major construction exercise.
Yeah, I recognize the tightness of the site, but boy, if something should be provided, it should be adequate sidewalk.
Yeah, that's why I put it in there.
Shay, I'm guessing the first bullet addressed your massing tweak.
Yeah, I think so. If you shared my same comment there, Jonathan, if the description of a flare kind of feels like is the right terminology to use to provide the team direction. Yeah.
Peter?
Just a friendly reminder, you really shouldn't be chatting about the points in the letter. Just talk about things in general, and then when there's an actual something to respond to, we'll flip it over once there's a motion.
Fair.
Yeah.
Amateur chair.
It's okay, no problem. We're all in this together.
And amateur participants, Neil, as well. I mean, I'll make a motion of support if you like. I'm more than happy to
appreciate it. At the current state, do we have anyone who would like to second that?
I'll second.
Thank you. Was that Mindy?
It was, yep.
Fantastic. As I'm flipping back and forth, I only see part of my scroll of folks. Okay. So yeah, now let's have some discussion. Anything else that folks feel needs to be added? David is working away. He has his characteristic diligence. proposed, I think, yeah, there we are. That looks good to me. Anybody want to add anything else? Maybe just a gas station. Who knows? Companies go up and down. Is there another one in the area? Looks good. I know we can speak a little.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add unless that there's anything else to add for clarity, but
yeah,
feels pretty clear.
You know, just sort of reflecting on the conversation, this sounds pretty spot on. Any others? I think I'm going to call the vote pretty sure soon, unless I hear opposition. Are folks feeling they're ready for a vote on this proposed motion? One thumbs up is all I need. I'm going to go. Oh my gosh.
Great.
It's a parade. Okay, I'm going to, for the motion of support, I'll go in the order of commentary. Nick?
Support.
Shay?
Support.
Jonathan?
Support.
Mindy?
Support.
Greg?
Support.
Karen?
Support.
David?
Support.
Me too. It's unanimous. Motion passes. Thank you all. There we are. That one's done. I know Peter provided me insight on our timing. Well, maybe not, just points of contact. Agenda, I don't know, hold on. We are ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
What do you think, Peter? Are
Well,
we going to be ready or should we?
I'm just trying to let the other team know.
Gotcha. You let us know.
Yeah. Like we're about 20 minutes ahead.
Yeah.
Shall we just take a 5-minute break here?
I think we'll need at least that.
Yeah, go for
Reconvene
it.
at 5:20.
They're scheduled for 5:30, but I've asked them to join as soon as they can. So if you want to take 5 minutes,
Right.
and
Let's
it'll
go to
take
5:20, which is
5:20. Yeah,
8 minutes.
perfect.
And if they're ready, we'll make a decision at 5:20.
Yeah, perfect.
Right.
I guess see you all then.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Ian,
Thank
hi.
you, Ian. Okay, we weren't sure when you'd be available, so we took a break to 5:20, so another 4 minutes.
I just messaged the team and sent the link just to get on, but I showed up and Peter was the only one in the room, so I went back to my office, and hopefully the rest of the team is punctual here.
So yeah, sorry for rushing you. For
all good.
Hurry up to wait.
I'll give him a call right now, though. I'll be back in just a minute.
Fantastic.
Our architect, Jeff, who's going to be the presenter, should be here any minute now.
Okay, do we have everyone here? Mindy?
I'm here.
Fantastic. Nick?
I'm here.
David?
I'm here.
Okay.
I am still here.
That's Karen.
Present.
Wow, the enthusiasm is contagious. Present. Jonathan?
Here.
And Janice? Do we have you back from your purgatory?
Okay.
And I'm sure Greg's here.
Hmm. Landscape architect was still waiting for heights.
We're a few minutes ahead of schedule. Just let us know when the team's here and you're ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's okay. We can, yeah, start.
Ready?
Mm.
Well, welcome to the Edmonton Design Committee for the formal development permit presentation of the Lilac project. Lilac Residential Building. We would like to remind you this is a public meeting. We have all received and reviewed your submission package. Your team will have 10 minutes to present, and then we will do a virtual roundtable. Committee members for questions. After that presentation, we will deliberate and respond to you in writing within 48 hours. So I will turn it over to you to introduce your team and project.
Yeah, we're ready.
Well, the floor is yours. Are you able to share?
Okay, let me share. Okay, I can. Okay, let me. I thought the panel was sharing. Okay, let me open the file.
Jeff, we can run it, but it's easier for you because then you can direct.
Yes.
You know, and then if you have to jump around, it's
Right.
much easier for you to be doing it. But if you have any problems, let us know, and we do have your files here.
No, it's fine. Yeah, because previous is yes for panel this, but I agree. It's easier for me to share the screen. Yeah. Okay, almost there. So can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity for us to present this development to design committee. It's a little bit, let me see. Not quite. Sorry, not quite. Yeah. So it's okay to see it's a little small, but I'm not quite sure how I can make it larger. Because when
It's very narrow.
yeah. Let me see.
You had it before. There we are. That's better.
Yeah,
Okay.
do you have a full screen option there? I don't know what piece of software that is.
If it's Bluebeam, it looks like Bluebeam, it'll be under Window.
Yeah.
And there'll be a full screen option.
Yeah, okay, yes, I see. Okay. Yeah, but I don't know how to flip to another page. Is he?
Or it's the next one down instead of full screen presentation.
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, so I can pick it up. Okay, so the project is located within the downtown neighborhood along 108th Street between Jasper Avenue and 102 Avenue. Jasper Avenue has been the main commercial shopping street and also designated as Transit Avenue based on Edmonton Municipal Development Plan. The majority of the land in the surrounding area is used for commercial, food or beverage use, and surface parking, low-rise and high-rise office, residentials, low-rise and high-rise residentials. The subject site is urban warehouse zone, which allows for multi-family housing in the commercial use. Off north side of the lot 102 Avenue is designated as shopping street. The site is connected to a set of transportation modes and corridors that allow for excellent connectivity to downtown, North Saskatchewan River Valley, and the rest of the city by way of public transit, walking, and cycling. From this map, we can see there are multiple RT stations nearby, include Capital Metro Line and the new Valley Line stations. There are a variety of destinations surrounding these subject lots, including parks, University College, ICE District, and low and high-rise residential commercial facilities. Capital Center is right across the west lane, and the college is steps away off east side of 102 Avenue. And our subject development is here. It's just like right off to the south side of another development. It's the same. It's under construction by the same developer, and also we designed this building last year. So Edmonton's urban pattern surrounding the development site is composed of a grid pattern of street and avenue with a mix of densely built blocks in the spreads with large open spaces, include 2 parks and a number of surface parking lots. A number of taller buildings range from 20 to 33 stories are found along 105 and 108th Street from Jasper Avenue to 104 Avenue. The context plan shows the existing surroundings. View 1 and view 4 is from 108th Street. 2 and 3 is from the back alley. It's just right against the Capital Center. So this project is UW zone, and site area is approximate 42,000 square meters. The proposed site coverage will be around 57%. And FSR is around 3.3. There are total 204 rental residential suites in this development. And there are no minimum parking required, but we provide 92 parking stalls and 204 bike parking. So including 15% outdoor parking, bicycle parking, and 85% inside the underground parkade. There's one underground parking, only one underground parking for this project. So the project is a mixed-use six-story building incorporating a variety of housing types to accommodate the diverse range of family size from 1 bedroom to 3 bedrooms. 102 Avenue is conceived as a shopping street with the intent to encourage pedestrian-oriented shopping. The focus of this project is not to redefine the urban fabric, but instead to integrate the development within the surrounding built forms and amenities to contribution to the future of the community. As I mentioned, off the north side is another development, and we just make this new proposed development like extension to the existing under construction development. So it's use similar architectural expression and the same height. So it's nicely respected the surrounding buildings. And from here, you can also see this building is from the high rise to the middle rise and to an open parking space. So the proposed development is
hold on a second.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you looking to advance slides here?
No, yeah, this slide, can you see it's design analysis?
Yeah, we're on site description slide here, Jeff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
And now floor plans.
Yeah, okay.
So I just wonder, maybe Jeff, it would just be easier if we show it from our end.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so just give me a sec. I'll tee it up here, and then we'll go right back to the start, and then you can walk us through it. Just give us a sec here.
Yes, we can go to the design analysis. Next, yes, here.
There.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know why I can only show on my side. It's not correspond to the share screen. Okay, so yeah, this building is just a transition from the high-rise building to the low-rise and some open ground parking space. And it's respect the surrounding buildings, use the similar language and similar materials. So next page, please. Yes, this is the site plan. The main entrance is just right off the 108th Street, and there's parking. It's a plaza between this proposed building and the north side, the existing under construction building. So this plaza will allow for a little bit breeze area between these two buildings, and also have a nice connection to the existing Capitol Boulevard. And because of the security concern, it is not fully open to, even it's not fully open to the public. But this is transparent glazing between this private plaza and the public area. So it still provides nice transparent transition between the private and the public space. And the backside, we introduced two courtyard. One is from the can access from the 1A Street, and the backside is not courtyard. It's basically for the service use. All the parking entrance to the underground parking, garbage connection area, loading areas is located to the backside of the backside lane. Next page, please. Yeah, this is the parking plan. As mentioned, there's only one underground parking proposed for this building. 85% parking, bicycle parking storage provided at least space. And as per the zoning bylaw requirement, all the bicycle pathway has separate pathway from the vehicle drive aisles, and they have a dedicated stairs from this underground parking. You can see off the right hand of the parking ramp is a dedicated stairs for the bike storage and connected to the underground level to the backside. Next page, please. Yeah, this ground level is more, as you can see, the how the bike storage connected directly to the outside. It's just right against to the right side of the parking ramp. And from the front, you can see this is a huge outdoor amenity area and connected to the indoor amenity area. So it's nice connection between the inside and outside. And also wellness room is just behind, you can see behind the amenity space is a wellness room. We provide some sauna space, hot tub, and cold sponge area in this space.
Just to know, you're almost used up your time, so.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. Next
Before
page.
you spend too much time on floor plans, I want to make sure.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I won't talk too much about floor plans. Yeah. And yeah, as I mentioned, it's includes 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms, 3 bedroom, different type of units. That's next page. Yeah, this is level 6, and here I can show the top left corner is an amenity area. This amenity area will connect it to the rooftop and amenity area. So you can see a stairs from this room go directly to the rooftop. Next page. Yeah, here you can see this stairs is 2 levels high, so it can have a directly access from the indoor to the rooftop amenity area. Okay, next page, please. So this is elevations. The architectural expression focuses on a wide variety of material, so texture and the colors, to create vibrant streetscape. The concept is consistent at all building elevations, and yet with some variants. Next page, please. And next page. Next page. So this is the material bought. We can see brick has been considered to the majority of the building facade to give a nod to the surrounding historic buildings, which brick is predominant material. And the stable, secure, durable, and the high quality materials are selected for this project, into brick veneer, hardy cement board, low-E glass, metal guardrail, and the metal panels. Next page, please. Yeah, different lighting fixture has been selected for this project, including wall mount lights, landscape bollard, and a pole lighting fixture to create a more interesting environment for the outdoor space. Next page, please. Yeah, this is again, we just show in the beginning, the building location. So it's right to the existing north side building, the same developer and with similar language to respect the surrounding buildings. Next page, please. There's several renderings from different angle. The lower side, you can see the main entrance with the signature rooftop penthouse. So it's full glass. The client want to use the full glass featured here to highlight this entrance and also the amenity space. Next page. Yeah, this is from this area we can see the relationship between the proposed building and the existing building. The courtyard is proposed between these two buildings and provide a nice public plaza area. And the light view can just show how this building highlight the penthouse signature easy way finding signature for this building. Okay, next page. Yeah, the shadow, we can see as minimal impact to the adjacent building. As I also is because benefit from the introduced courtyard between these two buildings. Next page. Yeah, this is the detailed landscape design, and we can have coordinated with landscape architect to ensure provide sufficient soil depth to allow all the big trees to survive. And I believe, yeah, landscape architect will answer some questions related to the detailed landscape design. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is the introduction to this project. Yeah, can answer any questions. This is all landscape designs here.
Okay, on that note, we will get into a roundtable of questions. Leading us off today is Mindy.
Thanks, Neil. Thank you very much for your presentation. I actually don't have any comments or questions, I should say. Other comment would be just looks really like a high quality living space. So really appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Nick.
Thanks, Jeff, for your presentation. My main concern here is I'm struggling with what's missing in the package. Is you're showing some beautiful elevations of the building, but you're not really showing the context of how it interfaces with the surrounding buildings around the lanes, particularly with like the Capitol Center where it's all parking and, you know, from a desirable living point of view, I have some real concerns about that interface. And similar with the Intact Insurance building, it's got an elevation for parking going up. And so in your package, it's very hard. I mean, you're showing the images, but you're not showing contextually how the building places itself and interacts with those other two buildings around it, particularly with the lane. So I'm not too sure how to address it, but I don't think it's really it's where my concerns really lie is those ground level units facing out onto the rear lanes, which really have a different context to them. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, comments. For the back side, the alley facing the residential units facing the alley, actually the city has some specific requirements. So how can provide a safety space for these residents? And can you enlarge a little bit this page? We provide 1.5 meters sidewalk specifically for this backside unit. And all these sidewalk will directly connect this unit to the 1/8 street. So I think will be mitigate some safety concern for these residents. And regarding to the context, as I mentioned, we designed another building just to right to the north side. We use a similar language.
Yeah, Jeff, I noticed that, and what I'm getting at is in your application submission, because we're looking at it from an urban design point of view. So it's not just the building itself; it's how the building and the space functions around it. And I feel just when I'm looking at the photos, there's concern trying to visualize, well, what's it going to look like? You've got on the Capitol Center parking all across the back, you got venting coming out, you've got then offices at another level before you even touch on residential. And then if you look at it from the Intact Insurance building, there's parking. And so how does that interface function? And that's where my concern really lies with the rest of the building's fine. It's just we're trying to create space, and it's in your interest to make it rentable. I assume you're going to rent it to be desirable and within the public interest of what we're trying to do here. So that's just where I struggle a bit at the moment. I don't think the sidewalk is necessarily a solution. There's lighting, there's all sorts of things that could be improvement to the rear lane to get good lighting in and good landscaping, etc. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Nick, Donald, Development Manager from Westridge here. Maybe I can just jump in on that real quick. When we look at our buildings downtown, we certainly want four-sided buildings. We've been plagued in the downtown with a lot of back-side of buildings. Certainly any modern city is contemplating the use of alleys for livability and for activation, and we want to be a leader in that. And if anything, we think we're responding very well to the city's direction with the lanes and including them instead of just blank walls or back of house. And so we've had a lot of demand for ground floor units, especially from pet owners and from those that might have issues with COVID or stemming from the COVID experience. And so we've actually expanded our use of ground floor units, and that's why we want to separate them a little bit. And we were directed by the city to include that walkway, and so that actually was not our first choice. However, we are responding to that, and we believe that it will provide a little separation. But we've had very, very good success with ground floor units. And, we do hope to activate more downtown alleys, and actually have had some discussions, and I know this will come up in our subsequent meeting, around activating lighting and some adding some color and beauty to the back alleys here. So we believe that it's a good solution. We certainly are committed to making sure it manifests in the right way.
And I appreciate that, Ian. I'm sure there is. It's just in the application, there's nothing there. And if you can appreciate, we spend time reviewing it. And what I'm missing is that urban form, that context and relationship, so that we can provide and put in context maybe on what can be done. That's what was missing, and I can't speak to it. That's the challenge. I hope you can appreciate that. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Nick, and certainly we're committed to making sure that the ground level is going to be designed right and integrated well.
Thank you.
Good, Nick. More questions?
No, I'm good. I'm only allowed two, and I think I spent my time. So thank you.
If you want more, we'll circle back around. Just let me know. I'll pass it on to David.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation there, Jeff. I guess, first of all, I'll say that I support the development in principle, number one. Number two, this project really would have benefited from coming in for an informal. And it's also going to be the same comment I have on the next project. Because just building off of what Nick is talking about, and I know that you guys and Westridge have the best intentions in hand, but there is some really important information missing from this package. And as I said, building off of the surrounding context that Nick was talking about, my concerns are with sort of the interface between proposed ground floor units, building entries, outdoor amenity spaces with 108 Street, and the existing conditions, which aren't really reflected very well in the package, and the service lanes. How does how does the proposed design address, enhance, and contribute to the interface with the existing public realm? Some of the other questions I had was, how does the proposed design address the transition between public and private space, or public access to private amenity space, which I believe that northeast amenity space is supposed to have public access to, but it looks like it's gated. You know, how are the selected sort of urban landscape components, be it hardscape, softscape, site furniture, amenities, and features used to define that interface in the transition between the development and public realm? Like, you know, and you've sort of mentioned, you know, well, we have enough planter depth, you know, for our planters over top of the park. Like, as I said, that's the sort of really important information, especially from my perspective, that, you know, I would have liked to have seen in this package, because it's very, very difficult. As I said, next to sort of supporting the development in principle, it's very difficult to get a sense of, you know, what that interface and transition is with the public realm. And that's such an important part of this project, especially with it being in the downtown. So I don't know if we should spend time on discussing that interface. As I said, it would just be nicer to see that in the package. I do have a more specific question. So for the rooftop amenity area, there seems to be more functionality to the design and the components that have been applied. What aspects of functionality were explored for those ground floor amenity spaces? They seem to be more sort of congregating, sort of sitting spaces, and with very little additional functionality to them. Was there any other thoughts or ideas for those ground floor areas?
Jeff, I think I can speak to this one. Again, appreciate the time today, everybody, and want to bring some clarity to this, and certainly apologize if there was a lack of clarity on any of this, and I hope we can fill that in tonight, at least in part. But we certainly played around with that plaza. It is intended to be a private plaza. Security issues are just too much of a concern right now. We certainly see that. I've lived downtown 20 years, and you know, we've sadly seen a lot of public spaces on private property or quasi-public fenced off or restricted. And you know, unfortunately, that's the reality. Is it's just not safe for residents to have this open to the public. We want it to be transparent. We want it to be something inviting for residents and visually for the public. You know, that area there, we went back and forth with actual more usable space for activity. But we also have to respect the fact that it's a courtyard within the building and with the neighboring residential. So sound issues were a concern. And so we want it to be a nice outdoor space. Maybe people wait there for their friends or gather there outside the gym, because the gym is adjacent to it. But we wanted to drive any sort of noise originating use to the roof. We think that's a better solution here, while still having some active public space and some social gathering on the main floor.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Shay?
All right, perfect. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation this evening. I'll speak more specifically just to some of the elevations and the design of the buildings in relation to the rest of the surrounding urban context. Just taking a look at the front elevation on 108th Street, I think there's too many ideas being shown here, especially, you know, considering I hear comments that it's like a four-sided building. It's just the one side that faces the street has so many ideas. It's got, I think the materiality and the choices are sufficient. And it offers a kind of a monochromatic, but a kind of a timelessness. But we've got white siding, black siding, a lot of moving elements, some volume boxes, a large entrance canopy, a large anchor, black anchor piece that's I think housing some of the interior amenity spaces. I think there's just a too many ideas on the front elevation, and I think it would benefit from just paring those back, even in comparing it to the similar building with a similar design language just north of it. I think this one's got more colors and more materials shown kind of on that elevation. So you go in like different, like 15-foot increments, and it's a different color and a different strategy. And it's parsed all along that kind of that big street face that faces 108th Street. So I would recommend simplifying that a little bit, just because they are a lot simpler on the lane facing side that still has the residential units on both the south and then the north side as well, and then the rear as well on the west elevation. And I think that's my big takeaway outside of some of the other similar planning comments from Nick and David as well, just in terms of that perimeter treatment for those ground floor units. Is that enough landscape planting to ensure the survivability of those shrubs and those trees that are shown kind of at small scale? But you know, if they grow, are they going to, is those planting bins sufficient enough to ensure that they survive on the street facing side? But I'll leave my comments kind of there, focusing on the material and color articulation on the street face in particular.
Thanks, Shay. And just so that folks are aware, our landscape architect, Jason Pfeiffer, is here. So I'm not sure, Shay, if you want him to speak to directly to the landscape question there.
I can answer that. We've included calculations based on like soil depth, and then we'll have other mitigations. So I think like the big danger to plant survival in our climate is frost penetration, especially laterally through the walls when you're building a planter above. So that's something to be addressed at the later stages of a project when it comes to detailing the planters, to have insulation up the sides. Also something that the project has discussed is the opportunity, in coordination of course with the envelope, to allow heat to transfer from the parkade underneath to the planters as well, to ensure their survivability. And then you can see in the landscape, I'm not sure if it's not on that drawing, but in the submission there we have a soil calculation, and so it's just an average, but we have close to 16 cubes per tree, which is, and given that the tree format that we've picked is to fit within the 3-meter setback, so we're not planting huge trees there just because they won't fit, but we're planting stuff that's I think suitable. There's a lot of shade on the site we're working with in the courtyard and around the sides, but we've got like narrow trees that don't have quite as demanding of a soil volume, so we're not planting elms there. And then we have like our depth is about 900 millimeters. So there is a larger soil depth that we've got there, and something that hits the target for the size of the tree.
Okay, I mean, maybe in conjunction to this comment on landscaping, outside of maybe the perimeter planters, but those there's a lot of interior planting around the main vehicle access off of the west lane. There's a lot of planting in that rear space for those units. Just asking the question, like, are those plants going to live there, considering that's a 6-story building and the intact building is behind it, blocking more of the low south sun? I imagine none of these plants will get that much daylight at all during especially winter hours. Is that going to be enough sunlight for them to be able to survive as they've shown, especially those ones on even the south side that are really located really close to, say, that unit A2 and unit D3? I imagine, can they live with no sun?
Basically the stuff on that side of the building has been specifically chosen for shade, and it is a challenging area for plants to grow. But we have stuff that should be more resistant and adapted to shade there. So we've got hydrangeas and alpine currants, as well as in the interior courtyard aspens. Like, would they do better with more sun? For sure, but I think those plants will do okay there. They just probably won't grow as fast as they would if they had more sun. There's similar conditions that I've seen in the city where you have like a north facing side with shade, and you can kind of see the plants take longer to come in spring, but they're doing okay in certain places. So
cool. Well, you're the professional landscape architect. I assume they'll do just fine, but just wanted to flag that. So I've seen it a lot. I live downtown. A lot of those plants don't make it, but their species are intentionally selected to thrive there. Excellent. But I'll leave my 2 comments there for now. Thanks, Jason and Ian and Jeff.
Thanks, Shay.
Thank you, Shay. Pass it on to Karen.
Oh. Hi there. Thanks for the presentation. Really excited to see some investment. Some investment happening in the downtown. I'm also really excited to see the consideration of some 3-bedroom units. I think that's a really important element to cater to families downtown, bringing them downtown. My first gut instinct when I looked at this this proposal was disappointment that it was only 6 stories. I understand the pro forma and that perspective, but it is definitely an area the city is looking to get more density into. So, might be something worth a consideration of trying to get a bit more density on there. Otherwise, I won't belabor the ideas brought up by Nick and David. I kind of thought the building was presented as a bit of an island, so it would be nice to see a bit more surrounding context and the integration. But I won't belabor that one, and I suspect that's just the presentation package as opposed to the actual building itself and idea behind it. Okay, that's it for me.
Thanks, Karen. Just to quickly respond to a little bit of that. Certainly, we're happy to be investing downtown, and we'd love to do a variety built form. We hope we can do that in the near future. Economics right now and construction costs. Honestly, I'm surprised that McLeod went ahead with theirs. I think they were kind of pot committed, but there's a reason we don't see many more concrete high rise right now. The delta for rents and costs is unfortunately not there, but it's getting closer. We're excited.
Yeah, I understand the pro formas, but it is disappointing to see. But
I guess our point was, great cities of the world like Paris, Barcelona, London, lots of 6 stories in their downtowns. We think that we're providing another option. We know a lot of people don't want to live in a tower, but point taken, and we've maxed out density for the site, and that's something that is just smart when you're a developer. But we certainly want to bring a lot of people to the downtown, and so we did work on the unit count and the gross floor area to make sure that our efficiency of use is very high, works for us, and also it just makes sense to bring as many people as we can into the building. So point taken. We'd love to do concrete high rise soon, but I think there's a balance there between moving forward with something that we think is going to be a good addition versus waiting 5 years for the perfect time.
Right. Yeah, no, all good. So I understand, and it is definitely efficient. I will give you that.
That's kudos to Jeff and his team. They work wonders with what we did.
And the 3 bedrooms I really appreciate as well. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Karen. Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for the presentation, and Ian and Jason, all here. I had a similar comment. I think Nick brought it up earlier. I think just in receiving this package for the committee, it would just be really great to get a bit more of the context into some of the diagrams being shown, even just like the renderings, just to help the committee do a more fulsome review. Part of that is, and kind of connects back to Shay's comment, I don't want to just repeat comments, but the material palette is it's quite cold, and you kind of want to think about how this relates to kind of like the warehouse district, which with like the more red brick materials is kind of a warmer feel to kind of like the heritage context, and this doesn't really feel the same. And I know there's this kind of gray brick veneer, so maybe it's as simple as paying homage more to like the red brick, and then reducing the complexity of colors, maybe to only one or two other contrasting colors, rather than kind of these multiple gestures like Shay was mentioning, could really go a long way. And then my only comment, and it was funny, so Karen mentioned the 3 bedrooms, which I think is great, but from a livability standpoint, I think with a 3-bedroom, like the family style units, it always makes more sense to have them located closer to the elevator, closer to sort of like the side of the building where there is a lot of natural light that matters for kids. Typically for livability, you'd have maybe the smaller units facing the alley, and the larger family style units facing the street. But just a comment more so from a livability aspect. And then lastly, someone else mentioned it before too, but these little things could have easily been resolved through an informal presentation prior to this, where it's a lot more casual and we just have a conversation about urban design, and it's really helpful for projects like these, especially in such prominent locations like 108th Street. So definitely recommend the informal for future applications. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jonathan. Jeff, were you had a follow-up?
Yes, maybe I can just speak as several sentences. Can you show the pages, the context view? Several pages before this page, several pages. In the first of the renderings, first page of the rendering. Yes, here. So from here, I agree. The capital center is a warm color, but if you look at the surrounding buildings, they're different colors. It's not just the same one color, and you can see to the south side is also cold color curtain wall building, and also right across 108th Street is also different color. And also on the first building, the Lotus Park, we use this very similar color to the capital center, warm color, the red brick. It's almost the same to respect the building across the lane. But for this development, we are thinking about use not just repeat the same material. We use the same material, similar material, but a little bit different color. So I think it is just our initial thought to respect the surroundings, but also have some variance. Because it's not just one building here, have just different building have different expression. Okay, and regarding these 3 bedrooms, yes, I agree. These buildings actually, all these 3 bedrooms very close to the elevator and more convenient for family use, and also located in the corner. Because 3 bedrooms require more natural light, so this building is just located to the northeast corner and very close to the elevator core. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and just to quickly build off of that, and Jeff, thanks for that. I think that explains a lot. We didn't want to match Lotus Park to the north. We wanted to play off of some of that and sort of contrast it. So I think that's one of the reasons we went with the darker brick. I recognize, we're in a warm, a cold climate, and you want warm materials. And I think I worked on the winter design guidelines way back when. you know, and certainly what we want to do is bring the warmth through our oversized windows, the sort of the pillar of light that comes up to the amenity floor on the 6th floor. We want that to be a focal point as a sort of a beacon. So we hope that some of the warmth will come from that. And also, you know, we're really excited about some of the lighting that's going to be around the building and the plaza that will really brighten it up. So, you know, we wanted to contrast Lotus Park. That's why I think we went with a little bit of a darker tone. But we hope that the windows, the beacon on the 6th floor, and some of the lighting and landscape design is going to really bring that warmth that you want.
Thank you. I'm going to pass it on if that's okay. Janice.
Thank you for the presentation. I had similar comments to my fellow committee members about the overall context, which you've kind of talked about here, and especially the survivability of the planting, because I do think that's very crucial to the interface with the public and the public realm. I do like the building massing and the articulation. But I do sort of have some similar comments about the warmth of the building. I think, Ian, like you were just saying, potentially it's achievable by other means. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. But again, thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Greg.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. It's exciting to see more development going up in the downtown area. You know, I have a few comments, and most of my comments have been already spoken about one way or the other by previous council members here. I'll start with, you know, I do like the little inlet pocket park area. I know it's not public access, and I can kind of understand where you're coming from that perspective. So I do appreciate that, you know, it's still made visibly open to the public, and maybe down the line when things change, who knows. But what I do like is it's still kind of there. One of the things that I did notice, though, and you know, it might be just misleading with your render of the night view, it just seems incredibly dark at like at this level, like almost encouraging the thing you're trying to protect from, per se. So I don't know if that's maybe just a misrepresentation of the actual render, because when I go to the light plan, it is a bit difficult for me to zoom in and really get an understanding of what that atmosphere is supposed to be like there. So can you talk a little bit about the lighting at grade?
Yes, we use a different, as I mentioned before, we use a different lighting fixture in the courtyard areas. We include the bollard and the pole and the wall-mounted lighting. This render, yeah, yes, it's maybe just because my preference, I just want to show a little bit cool color as an architect, but maybe it's not. And also, it's in-house rendering. It's not by a professional rendering company, so maybe it's not looks that appealing, but just the concept to show how this building designed, especially this light view, especially just for the penthouse amenity area. Just want to show how these maybe 2 levels volume light up in nighttime. But it's not for the whole building. Yeah. So, yeah. And also warm color. You can also see here. We use the warm soffit in main entrance. So it's a light up in the red color, warm color. So I think it's very welcome, especially in the winter time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, then what I would say is, like, it seems like lighting would have a really big impact in that pocket. Just need to get a really better understanding of how it looked, because I think it would change a lot of perspective about that area straight up in general. And I think, as you said, it might be just an issue of rendering capability. But when you see the image, you start asking questions based on the imagery, and that would be my comment in regards to that area. The other one I wanted to chat on or briefly mention, and I believe Shay brought this up, but I kind of agree with Shay. I do find that the exterior elevation might be trying to do 3 to 4 different ideas at once. I feel like if you could subtract one, it might make the building feel less busy on the exterior. But as far as urban, that's not a lot of impact on the urban environment, I guess, from that perspective. But yeah, I just want to reiterate that. Yeah, those are my comments. Thank you for your time.
Greg, just a couple quick things here, and I think that rendering is really indicative of last night here in the city with the smoke. But it's meant to be a sexy rendering. But I can tell you that it's definitely going to be better than that. But just in terms of the plaza area, obviously a focal point for us from a safety standpoint, from a SEPTED standpoint, we want to make that something that's really beautiful and inviting for residents and safe. So that'll be a focal point for us. The other thing is we are contemplating some kind of significant public art piece. We haven't shown it yet because we still are in discussions, but basically at that center point of the plaza, that would sort of be a centerpiece for both buildings, as it kind of would like connect both. And we've had some preliminary discussions with some artists around creating some kind of giant lilac or giant lotus, sculpture piece that would be beautifully lit and colorful, that would act as sort of a landmark there. So we can't show it because we're still sort of figuring that out, but that's something of an intent here that we're hoping to do and bring forward with some more discussion.
Right, yeah, that would be great if you include some artwork that's publicly visible and impacting the streetscape. I agree. Right on.
Okay, it's up to me to wrap up. Yeah, I'm not gonna belabor any project. I was gonna say I really like the beacon. And so again, going back to those comments on the busyness of the facade, I think that takes away from the beacon as a strong element that kind of grounds the whole building. So I'm very much in line with Shay and others on that. The amenity space, I understand the desire to have that fenced, and that makes sense to me. But then I'm like, well, can we counter that with some kind of generous public offering? Maybe some funky benches. I don't. I think there are some creative solutions to this that still, balance that. We're going to do a nice little tip of the hat to the public, not just 10 cents a card, although I love that, but also creating a very usable space for the residents of the building. So that's sort of would love to have seen that. But other than that, thank you so much for your time presenting to the design committee. We are going to deliberate. You're more than welcome to stick on. You may go if you so choose. Either way, we're going to get back to you in writing in, I think, about 48 hours or so. Yeah, your call. Great. I'm not the usual chair. I always forget what to do from one. My segues are not on point tonight. On that note, I'm going to pass it into committee mode, and let's deliberate. Again, we have the template for discussion has been shared. And yet I don't even have it up myself. There we are. Okay. Okay, I see some commenting happening. That's behind the scenes, folks, if you who won't be able to see that. But I'll give a few minutes for folks to add any thoughts.
Shay, can I potentially ask a question of you?
Always.
I think potentially it was you that commented on the warehouse district and tying it back to the warehouse district. Maybe it was Nick actually, or David. Is there? I've seen some buildings that have been successful in trying to implement or recreate red brick, etc. do you think that your comments in regards to the facade and in simplifying and materiality, etc., is it about trying to incorporate it better into the warehouse district, or is it more just simplification and color palette, if that makes any sort of sense?
Yeah, I think it's actually more in tune with, like, I think Jonathan's comment. I do. This particular building is in a really unique spot where it's got the intact insurance building to the south, which is a clear deviation from like historical character, but then it's also next to that large brick condominium on 109th.
Yeah.
And then the parks just across the street as well, which is a lot of monochromatic white. So I don't necessarily want to. It is nice to have the callback to the historical character of the warehouse district. And it's maybe more of my comment, more so to the other project that we'll be reviewing today that I'll save for later. But I think I'm more reacting to a busyness. It's more like with this building situated in the context with the surrounding buildings that are pretty simple in their
material palettes. Yeah,
material palettes, and even their like facade design. This one in the community of surrounding buildings feels extra foreign. And I think just like a simplification, like I mentioned, there's maybe like 4 elevation designs going on here. You just took out one. I think it does help hone this building more. The veneer is always it's a easy one. It's like a nice simple callback to the warehouse district and our brick, but I just worry that, especially with a lot of developments in the area, that having so much black, white buildings with little tiny blips of colors, gonna make the streetscape feel very cold and sterile.
Yeah. Okay. I can appreciate that.
I'd say, following up on Shay, I think, there's a distinctiveness to the warehouse park. That's, simple, strong forms that not necessarily you want to follow, but you want. To me, I'm like, would love to have something that feels very much of this place and not successful in another part of the city.
Yeah. See, and when I see what's on the screen right now, like the 2 renders that are up, the one that's nighttime, etc., moody, reminds me more of Warehouse Park, etc., compared to, the other render, which is very black and white. Like they give me 2 different feelings. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood Shay's comments, because about, it being busy versus whether or not it was trying to tie it into surrounding Warehouse
Maybe
Park
some
context.
hints in that sexy nighttime render there, Ian.
Yeah, I think that render really speaks to how important lighting is as well.
Yeah. I've seen lots of commentary in the template, so I'm not quite sure we're ready for a motion yet, but when someone feels comfortable.
I just wanted to say, Neil, that as I think several people indicated that this whole thing would have benefited from this project would have benefited from an informal, and it's sort of, for me, like and I mentioned, I basically approve everything generally in principle, but I have a question to committee members that, based on what has been presented and some of the really what I would classify as very important information that's been sort of not presented or not defined very well. Do we end up supporting this project with the hopes that this does get addressed as the project moves forward in design development, or is it a motion of non-support with the request that these items be addressed and brought back to the committee, so that we feel that they have been addressed?
Always a tough one.
Yeah, and David, I'm struggling with it because I feel we haven't got, from an urban design point of view, the information to really understand the context with regards to the points I raised. So I don't disagree with you on those. I'm struggling with it.
Peter.
So just from a procedural perspective, I'll just remind the committee that there's no mechanism to ask to require an applicant to return to the committee.
Yeah, I think we know that, Peter. I think it's just always the dilemma we get into. It's not like we don't want to support it. It's just, it's hard to align it with what we're meant to be doing from an urban design point of view anyway. That's where I'm struggling.
I kind of, David, liked how you worded that, right? Like I'm in a similar boat. I support the development. I support the density, similar to Karen, though I kind of feel like it could be more density. So maybe if we lean towards a non-support, just so that the development officer has something to look at, and understand that the committee doesn't, like, we support this from a contextual standpoint of like density, location, etc.
Yeah, I agree, Jazz. I mean, the building, its interface, it's there. It's the detail that the context I'm struggling with. And when I look at the rear lanes, I'm trying to visualize how it's going to look and how it's going to be addressed. I've put a comment in there around trying to address it. It's the challenge I always have from an urban design. We're not getting, we're either too big on looking at it from the large scale, then we look at it from the building, but none of these are coming in showing how it interfaces with the public realm and the surrounding buildings. And that's a real challenge because that's a key part of our role, as I understand.
Does anyone have a similar concern about the precedent of the other building that's kind of been set to the north, where a similar like elevation is kind of being continued across the entire block?
Yeah, I definitely do. I even like looking at it. It seems less busy, but it also is busy. I think the recessed balconies and the extra like black zigzag creates a lot of visual busyness. But I think this other new building just has even a couple more ideas on top of that. But yeah, it is tough. You need them to both complement each other because I assume they're they're different projects, but part of the same family.
I agree with you also, Jonathan. I don't know. It's with the two projects side by side. To me, they look fairly similar, and it's just a big mass of residential housing building. It's a lot of residential building. I kind of had the same thought as well.
Yeah, it is tough. Like looking at the plans, I do feel just considering the urban feel, like having so many patios facing both lanes at grade, so close to the lanes as well, like basically right up against the setbacks. Like how cozy are those spaces going to be for folks? What is the live condition? How does that, like the folks on the backside at the ground, they're basically looking at the base of commercial back of house and parking directly to their west. Like it's a really uncomfortable living space. But yeah, feels a little late to find a way to meaningfully change those ground floor units there.
And that lane is just full of mechanical units.
I know. I was looking at the street view. It's just like my view out of my building.
Yeah, I think it's just because of all the commercial on the other side on 109th Street. This back end is just all like exhaust and like grease interceptors.
Yeah, you have a lot of ecologizers feeding out some I think it's like Japanese food and Greta's there. Like you'll get a lot of that sense out of that.
Yeah, it's a tough. I'm all for activating lanes, but this is a tough lane to have. Patios. There are some lanes that have potential, but this one, when you actually look across the street and look at the context and see what is actually occurring on the other side of that lane, this is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
And at grade. If it's one thing, if the parkade came out of the ground and then this was kind of, whatever, like 4 or 5 feet kind of above the lane, so at least there's a little bit of separation, but being more or less at grade is that's a tough environment.
You hit it on the head, Jonathan. Thank you.
Well, based on everything we've heard and things we've heard, kind of repetitiveness in comments, I'll put forward a motion of non-support.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Janice. So the motion of non-support by Janice, seconded by Nick. Competing typists.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile to add that one point, Jonathan, just about the lane design for those west ground floor units.
I do want to note that the highlighted bullet got sort of cut off when I was cutting and pasting. So I don't know who was writing that bullet.
That was me, David.
Apologies.
Yeah, reading through these comments, it's really, you can almost summarize it into one, which we aren't going to do, but it's really a story about context for a lot of this. Is just really understanding do all these design moves work in this site specifically? Did they work in another site maybe, and not so much this particular site now? And what changes are necessary to make this successful on this specific site in this immediate context of the warehouse district, the lane behind it, the condition of that lane and the surrounding buildings. It really, for these 6-story buildings, it really is a consideration of context at the ground plane. And then to Shay's comment, obviously the elevation is another component, but I think overall it's just the greater consideration for context for some of these good design ideas, like in a silo, like we love to see the ground oriented units with like a patio and everything, to activate the street more. But yeah, like along 108th Street, great. But yeah, a greater study in context I think would really benefit this, and that could have come up in the informal, and then easily been improved upon for the formal. So yeah.
Yeah, it's always tough when we come to this position and you have to say non-support when the informal we could have given the comments and at least seen how they were addressed, which would have helped us, because the type design overall and the intent I think we're all in favor of. It's just the small elements that haven't been addressed, need to be addressed.
And that's the challenge of the formal, right? There's not a lot of opportunity to do that back and forth.
Yeah, we get squeezed.
Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing the type can slow down. Get some folks ready for the vote. Peter.
Hi there. I just want to clarify a couple things since we have to deal with the letter.
Yes, of course.
There's a comment in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th bullet, second sentence: improvements along the lane need to also relate to waste receptacles. Is that a reference to like large, for lack of a better word, dumpsters that would be otherwise in the alley?
Yeah, they're in the alley. If you look along there where you got the restaurants and stuff, Peter, they're on the wheels. So I don't know if I've used terminology correct or just how to manage that interface.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just didn't. I think something else when I think of waste receptacle.
Sorry, maybe it's my it's different use of terminology. Apologies.
Okay.
I think, Peter, it's not just large commercial waste bins. I think those waste bins are also residential for that building.
Okay.
Okay, folks think are we ready for the vote? Yeah, I'm hearing no opposition and just seeing thumbs up all the way. I'm going to call the vote in the comment order for the vote of non-support. So this is always the awkward one. I guess say yes if you agree with the motion. That always seems to make it clear. And no if you do not. Mindy.
Yes.
Nick.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Shay.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
Janice.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
That's unanimous. The motion for non-support passes.
You need to say yours, Neil, out loud.
I did. I agreed.
Okay.
That's why I said unanimous. But thank you, Janice. I was not clear then. So but I was also yes. And hold on. That one's done. Are we ready to move on to the next? Same applicant. For time. We are a little behind schedule, but not far off. Any concern? We're going to move on. I believe the applicant team is still around. Are you still around, Jeff and all?
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Are you prepared to get into the next one, which is the 106 Street apartment? Fantastic. So on that notion, welcome again. Welcome back to the Edmonton Design Committee for the formal development permit presentation of the 106 apartment project. Again, we're in a public meeting. We have all received and reviewed your submission package. You will have 10 minutes to present, and then the round table. We will deliberate and respond in writing. I will now turn it over to you to introduce. Well, you've already gone, so to introduce your project.
Okay. Thank you, the committee, for this opportunity. Next page, please. This site is actually very close to the another project. It's located in within the downtown neighborhood of city of Edmonton, along 106th Street, northwest between Jessup Avenue and 102 Avenue northwest. Very close to the ICE district, the core of downtown area. Next page, please. The subject site is urban warehouse zone. The majority of the land in the surrounding use is commercial restaurant, low-rise and high-rise residential office. The signature community park, warehouse park, is just right across 106th Street, and now it's under construction. It's anticipated to be completed before the end of this year. Next page. The site is also very close to the public transit corridor, very close to the LTR stations. Next page. There are variety destinations surrounding this subject lot. They include Rogers Place Park, McLean University, and 104th Street. Next page. The context view shows the surrounding of this subject lot. The view 1 and the view 3 is from 2, 3, 4 is from the east and south lane. View 1 is from 106th Street. Next page. Yeah, the project is UW zone, and the site area is around 3,500 square meters. The proposed FAR is 3.5. That total 171 rental suite. We propose 150 parking stalls at 2 levels underground parking with bicycle parking as well. Next page. Yeah, the project introduced a contextual responsive 6-story residential building, set the top 2 levels of underground parking, designed to complement the area involving caricature. The development strengthens the street presence along 106th Street and adjacent avenues, while contributing positively to the architectural diagnosis of the historic district. To the north, a future 11-story mixed-use development is anticipated, and while the existing NH Square building lies immediately to the south. The proposed massing features a 6-story form with distinctive rooftop articulations at southwest corner, introducing visual interest at the skyline level. Next page, please. Here is a site plan. The main entrance is right off 106th Street, and will tie into the part of the warehouse park development. The all sidewalk and landscape will be developed by within this program. There are 2 laneway facing has a development unit facing to the south side and the east side, and have direct access from the south side alley. Next page, please. Yeah, this is the level 2 underground parking. We also proposed a parking space in this level as well. Next page. Yeah, this is the P1 parking levels. So no bike storage proposed at this level. Next page. In this is ground level, we can clearly see the relationship to the surroundings. To the north is the left-hand side. It's 0 setback required, and is directly adjacent to the neighborhood properties. So because there's no setback at this site, we proposed a parking ramp and the wellness space and garbage rooms, bike storage, so all located in the north side. And from the south side, we have development unit, ground-oriented development unit facing the alley, and have directed access from the alley. From the 106th Street, yes, all these units have direct access from the street level. Next page, please. Yeah, this is the ground level. At the ground level, we have coordinated with with our neighbor properties. Start from this level, 16 setback proposed at both sides. And we have 16 feet, and the neighborhood also have 16 feet. So it's total 32 feet building separation proposed. And the 3 bedrooms, and also the 3 bedrooms also at the 4 corners. At each level, we have 4 3-bedroom suite. Next page. Yeah, this is the typical levels, and 3-bedroom, 2 and 1-bedroom unit proposed at each levels. Next page. Yeah, this project was similar to our other projects, and on level 6 we have amenity gyms facing the proposed warehouse park, and the amenity area will have direct access to the rooftop amenity area as well. Next page. Yeah, this is the rooftop amenity area. We can have a directed stairs connected to the lower indoor amenity area. Next page. Again, we already coordinated with landscape architect to provide sufficient soil depth to allow for landscape survive in this lot. Basically, they have a 3 feet slab depression proposed at parquet to allow for around 1 meter soil depth. Next page. The building exterior expression also draw from the material traditions of the neighborhood. Let's use high quality brick as the dominant cladding. This ground material reinforce the historic character of this area, while supporting a modern architectural language. Key elements include street level interface. The ground level residence units along 106th Street are framed by 2-story brick element, establishing a strong and inviting pedestrian rim. The amenity definition. The top floor houses a shared amenity roof enclosed with curtain wall glazing. Maximize daylight and transparency while visually lighting the up wall. Next page, please. Yeah, next page. The material, a refined combination of brick, metal siding, cement board, and dark framed glazing enhanced architectural depth and texture, while offering durability and long-term reliance. This material and the Mason's James work strategy work cohesively to deliver a contemporary yet context-sensitive building that responds to its surroundings with both boldness and restraint. Next page, please. The different lighting fixture has been integrated to architectural expression and the landscape design. And we use different lighting fixtures. Can see it here. Include landscape bollard and the pole lighting fixture. Also wall-mounted lights. Next page. Yeah, this is the overall context view at this site. Yeah, we can see we have coordinated with our neighbors. Our neighbor building is U-shaped. That's facing the cut. Is open court is facing 106th Street, and our proposed building have a courtyard facing the east alley. And also the majority of the building just will facing the under construction warehouse park. Next page, please. Yeah, this is from 106th Street, and one is from north looking south, and another one is looking the main entrance to the north. Next page. Yeah, this is the perspective from the main entrance. This building will introduce a more warm color with warm cladding, framing, and the soffit at the main entrance to introduce a warm, welcoming signature for this building. Next page. Yeah, one is from the backside, and also can see the brick is the prominent material of this building. And the lighting, light view is again, it's just emphasize the entrance. You can see the entrance is large scale entrance to emphasize the easy way finding signature. Okay, next page.
Just to note, Jeff, you're at time. In fact, a little over. So
okay, yeah. As I mentioned, this building has 32 feet separation between our neighborhood. So this building is sitting in the south side of the building with 32 building separation. We can see as a minor impact to the surroundings. Next page. Yeah, this is the landscape design, and most of the tree along 106th Street is part of the warehouse park development. We'll also introduce some small trees inside this lot, but within the limitation of this surface area, there's less landscape proposed in this site. And the landscape architect will answer any questions related to the landscape design. Yeah, so this is the introduction to this design proposal.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to now pass it to our committee for a roundtable discussion and the question order in the chat. So leading off is David.
Yeah, thanks once again, Jeff, for your presentation. I don't have any questions of clarification. I'm pretty much what I had sort of mentioned on the last project sort of still stands with this project. Once again, I like it in principle, but it would have been really nice to have a lot more information with respect, and actually this one more importantly than the other one, with regards to the the 2 laneways and 106th Street, and then whatever the development is going to the north. So anyway, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you, David. Greg.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I did have one question on, it doesn't seem to be consistent, but like on the lighting page, it looks like there's like surface bike parking all around the southwest corner, like literally lacing it. Is that the intent, to have that much surface bike parking at that entrance area or near it?
Because we have a 15% outdoor parking space, and also for this project, also city require a walkway connect the ground level suite facing the south lane. With this 1.5 meter sidewalk, so we have no any space to fit this bike parking, and also there are some bike location requirements from the city. It needs to be within 50 meters close to the main entrance. So yeah, this is proposed to have some more convenient location for the visitors, short-term bike parking location.
So which, as I said, I mean, like there's drawings of different quantities of bike parking on it. So if I look at the lighting one, I see like an army of bikes that literally become a fence for the unit there. But on some other plans, I see it just kind of on the southwest edge. So I'm just trying to get an idea of like, which one is
it? So which plan? Okay, can you please show me the level?
If you go to the lighting plan,
lighting
review. Yeah, I mean like.
So, okay, here, okay, yes. Also, yeah, the lighting plan is not accurate. Lighting plan is before the 1.5 meter sidewalk proposed. So yes, this is it's a small mistake here. And then later on, we have 1.5 meters along the south side alley. So all these bike is relocated to another locations. So no bike here. So lighting plan is not accurate. I would say this lighting plan is basically focused on not on
totally fine. I just wanted to make sure it's the lesser of the two, because if it were this, it's quite extensive around.
Yeah,
that is
right.
Cool. Gosh, I'm gonna say the lighting plan again.
Yeah,
I think
this is
the
not.
render,
Yeah.
the lighting plan render could also,
Yeah.
kind of illustrate how the lighting works at the grade level. It really does highlight the entrance. I appreciate that, but then the other area is incredibly dark. Yeah, I just not sure that'll be the end condition, even by the time you've installed the lights you've proposed. I'll leave it at that. Next committee where I can go. Thanks again.
Thank you, Greg. Karen?
Oh, hello again. Oh, I'm off and I'm on. Okay. So, I have kind of pretty much have the same comments as before. I really feel like this presentation presents this project as an island. And I just had a thought from a planning perspective. I'm wondering, does the city, or has there been any work done around, I'll call it a master site development plan that would maybe look at, half of the block or something, just to show us how all of that integrates together. I mean, this one particular just has that massing of the neighboring building. What is that all going to look like together? And I was just wondering if I feel like we're missing a piece. And I feel like maybe a master site development plan or something would help fill in some of those blanks.
Hi, Karen. Thanks for the comment, and thanks everybody for the comments so far. I can speak to that. We've had a fair amount, and I would say more than any other site of late, integration meetings with Autograph to the north, the city of Edmonton with the 106th Street streetscaping. So there's been a significant amount of master planning, if you will, to coordinate, because the 106th Street streetscaping was actually done and designed in advance of this. And so we had to respond to what was already designed and now under construction. And so we had to alternate and sort of shift our plans to match. And we've been in significant coordination with Autograph to the north, both on the sort of the street wall and the setback there. We want them to integrate collectively, and they're a few months behind us, and so we've only been able to use limited information, but we are working with them directly and continue to do so. So we're working with imperfect information, but certainly significant coordination with them to make sure that they work together and front the park in an appropriate way. And certainly I've had some preliminary discussions to talk about how we can activate the lane and brighten the lane, because it's poor quality right now. We certainly see an opportunity there, especially as it connects the park to the Beaver Hills as a bit of a pedestrian access connectivity node. So that's important to us. But we've been having significant coordination, and we've had a bunch of meetings with the city on 106th Street in partnership with Autograph on that.
Okay, that's good to hear. And then maybe it's a failing on the project file project manager and not giving us that full context. And I don't know, maybe that would help us fill in the blanks. But just more of a wondering than a question. Thanks again. That's it for me.
Thank you, Karen. Jonathan.
All right. Thank you for this presentation. I'm obviously, just because they're back to back, I don't want to compare them because they're completely independent projects, but I will say this one, I think, gets to a little bit closer to what I think we were speaking about in the last project presentation in terms of the elevation and the treatment of the materials. Here I can see there's a bit more of like a formal logic of like breaking the mass into like vertical kind of like 6-story kind of sections of the building, and it kind of alternates from this like brick veneer to the fiber cement, and it feels like there's a bit more logic to this one than the last one. So I think that is that's good overall. I think the other component that I think is working well here is the well, the lack of patios on the lane, I think in this example is one thing that I think works well for this one. I do like the potential opportunity to reinforce that lane to the south of the building and that kind of axis with Beaver Hills. I think that's an interesting comment. I think there is an opportunity there. Despite one of the renderings showing like a bunch of cars in that lane, I don't think there'd be that many cars in that lane, but I think there's an opportunity to maybe better activate that lane. So I think that's successful and that's interesting. And I think just looking at the rear elevations, yeah, I think the formal logic kind of gets lost when you start to introduce this kind of like white band that breaks up the kind of like the vertical. You have this kind of brick that's this kind of like idea of this kind of design language, I guess you could say, of breaking everything up with these vertical portions of the building is kind of lost on the rear elevation. So I would just kind of stick to that kind of formal language, and otherwise I think it's I think it's a bit more successful than the previous example. I will say I think Greg brought up the bike parking is interesting, having it kind of sandwiched between patios on 106th Street. I would think there's potentially a better way to incorporate it elsewhere, but I think in this case, I guess it's perfect for sight lines and bike security because it's right in front of everyone's window. But yeah, I won't repeat Greg's comment on that one or the confusion with that one. But yeah, otherwise, those are my only comments for this one. So thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Nick.
Yeah, thanks again for the presentation. I think, the intent's there, but similar to my other colleagues in regards to just there's sort of missing information for us to really do the urban design assessment. I am going to make a few sort of comments because this site is quite different, the building's different. One, it's more a clarification. I see parks on the sidewalk, is it, in the illustration? Is that something I'm missing? Or is that just an error? Just to clarify. In your images, you're showing cars on this, what looks like concrete.
I think this image is not, because not 100%. This is only shows the building expression, so maybe it's not 100% accurate. And
okay, thanks. I don't think that's the case, but if you can appreciate, we're trying to understand, the public and private realm and how the building interfaces. So when you see cars sort of on the side, trying to work out what's happening. Now, this might be a question more for Ian. Have you talked to David Holsworth at all about the lane that connects between Beaver Hills House Park and Warehouse Park? They want to create a continuation through there. Just wonder if you've been in discussions with them.
Yeah, actually both David and Peter and a bunch of others, including some of the business owners and property owners on Jasper that face back onto the alley. So certainly that's something we have an intent to work on, and that's always been identified, in recent times as a connector. So we want to support that and make it a beautiful spot and figure out a way to make it urban.
I think, Ian, that creates a huge opportunity in terms of that connection, just how you can interface with it. My other one is just in regards to the parking in the rear where you got ground level units. I'm curious, like, what tactile element is it? Just asphalt? Like, to me, it creates an opportunity with residential because cars aren't always there, but to change the tactile element of not just asphalt, but something that's a little bit more courtyardish type of situation. Is that a possibility? Is that something you thought of, or are you just, hey, we're just going to lie asphalt down here? Because again, that's about the interface with some of those residents at that ground level. And it's just a way to give them a little bit of space, and when the cars aren't there, some outdoor, and give them some ownership. Does that make sense here?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is something to think about there. The challenge, and I've certainly seen this be problematic, is some of those surfaces really create issues for snow removal. And as much as we hate it, it's sometimes challenging to deal with, some kind of brick or stone there to really deal with the operational side. But certainly point taken to from a visual aspect, maybe there's some opportunity there to enhance that.
Yeah. Okay. They're really my main comments. I think the back is going to change. It's a little bit different because you haven't got larger buildings and apartments there. It's sort of something that's going to change over time, but there's still that issue. It's a challenging transition that you run through, right, with the rear lanes. But I think the way you've tucked it in, it'd just be better if tactile element could happen around within that courtyard. Hope you can appreciate why I'm trying to get that balance to help with you. Anyway, those are my comments. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Shay.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff, Ian, and company for your guys' presentation. Double header. It's a lot for a weekday. I've got maybe two main comments here. One, I'll kind of re-echo a little bit of what Jonathan had mentioned. But in terms of this particular building, the other project we reviewed, again, not referencing them directly, but it had the context of a similar type of building directly north of it. I don't love that the material palette is just a copy paste between the two projects. And I would recommend leaning into what makes this building more special, which looks like a lot more use of the deluxe paneling. I would hate for folks to basically walk 2 blocks and see a lot of the same materials for 2 buildings built around the same time. So I would, if you're going to be using a similar type of palette, as you guys get further along into the design and into contract docs, you guys work towards making this building feel more special in its application of the materials in comparison to the surrounding context, just so it doesn't reflect too much of a similar project by a similar group at a similar time. So lean more into the things that are making this space special. The entrance in particular is an example where I think there's a lot more intentionality to make this space more differentiated with that entrance and its kind of relationship to Energy Square there and looping people up from Jasper. It's got more unique personality versus the other surrounding projects. So that's one. And then one, I just can't help looking at a couple of the ground floor units relationship to the lane and to the parking, in particular the patios in the parking lot and maybe a couple on the south lane. They really, like, I don't know how folks are intended to use this, but you basically open a door and you'll have a little chair, basically space for a chair, and then your house is 2 feet away from a parked car. So you'd be looking outside just at a sea of parking with your one little chair amenity space for your patio. It feels really like a really uncomfortable space. A lot of the other patios on the north are on the north are a lot larger. The ones on the east or west are pretty large. A couple on the south are large. It's just a couple of the spaces feel really constrained and feel like an uncomfortable space for residents, and also in particular the rear patio spaces feel really compromised in terms of their effectiveness as those types of spaces in direct relationship to a parking lot. Like there's one where you're just looking at whoever's your neighbor's unit F1. You open it and all you see is car and a little space for a chair or a very small table. So I would highly recommend, maybe sacrificing a parking lot or a parking space or two if you can facilitate it, to make those ground floor connected elements to the lane and the rest of the ground floor design a little bit more like human scale. Like it's still a space for a person to have their, charcoal barbecue, or a space to get some, touch some sunlight. So They just feel really uncomfortable. Unit 1B in particular too. It's another one. It's a really uncomfortable patio. But outside of that, a lot of other improvements to this one. So we'll call it their ground floor units and material palette exploration, kind of chase more unique personality with your material selections. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Shay. Janice.
Thank you again for this presentation. I have no further comments than what's already been asked by my fellow committee members. So thank you.
Mindy. Thank you, Janice.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, as with Janice, I don't have anything to add other than I think it's quite a nice project. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mindy. I'm going to echo the same. I think the primary concerns have been raised. Again, happy to see all this fantastic intent and investment in downtown. Tricky sites. On that note, we are going to go into deliberation. I have my yes, we're gonna go into deliberation. Again, you're more than welcome to stick around or leave. Either way, we will. The city will get back to you in about 48 hours or so with the final letter. Okay, folks, committee folks, you should have the link again to the comments. I'm seeing comments added too. Okay, good.
I have a similar feel to the last one, but I think not on the same scale. Right? Like I think the context, and we talked a lot about the context. I think the context is different in this location, especially when you are looking at potentially what that rear alley is going to be, etc.
I also had the same thought. I think Shay brought it up, just about the notion of two similar buildings or being built at the same time, so close together. I don't know. With the similarities, I was wondering if it just makes the downtown a little, I don't know, mono residential.
I'd say some of the great urban neighborhoods have a lot of, I guess, I don't want to say banality. That's not a word.
Mono.
A lot of repetitive design elements, shall we say, and can be fantastic. The challenge is we don't really have a contemporary tradition of that.
No, and it does. I mean, in some contexts it would work. I don't know if it does in ours.
I think the fact that these are so similar just reinforces the comments on addressing context for the previous application. It just reinforces the fact that it was not considered. Now, I did make the comment that, you know, there were a few more successful gestures on this building, I think, all things aside. Yeah, the patios in the rear are shockingly small. And yeah, I think and so this is a tough one. So the patios in the rear are a bit problematic again, similar to the last one. The interface with the neighboring development and having sort of the I guess they're like the patios on like the north or on like kind of the second level, I guess. I think that kind of step back is working. I think the interface with the lane is also working. So the design language kind of wraps the corner and engages with this potential lane redevelopment. I think that works really well. And so I think that's still successful.
I think, Jonathan, one of the challenges I had is it's the missing pieces of the space beyond the building. So take 106. There's a concept, I think Ian was referring to, working with it, but in the illustrations, we don't see the actual concept plan of 106. So how does it function between those private and public realm?
Right.
I know with the lane they're doing work, but we still don't see anything. So it's hard to create what I term, how does a building function with the interface with its public realm, right?
Right.
And they're the parts I struggle with. So I'll leave it at that.
Just to move the discussion along, as with the other development, I have no issues with it in principle. It's just the lack of detail. So I am going to make a motion of non-support.
Thank you, David. Do we have a second?
I'll second the non-support.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, I find it really frustrating because I know all of these elements have probably been addressed. They're just not presented to us.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, I don't know whether it's the package standards or I feel like this is just a plain old development permit proposal or package and not really addressing our concerns.
Well, that's one of the reasons some of the questioning around what is constituting a development permit package these days, because as I said, like in the past, these types, even from the standpoint of asking, what are the planter depths, so that do you have sufficient amount, that results in producing some details that, as I said, relate to that interface and transition with the public realm. So, and as I said, these are the aspects of context that people have been talking about as well. But these are the things that are really sort of missing from this package that would typically go into any development permit package, and more importantly, a package that comes to EDC. So,
right, and I mean, there's a corridor plan for 106 and for 108, right? So there has been planning that's been done outside of the constraints of this lot, and we're not seeing that, which is frustrating.
Okay, does our folks ready? Have comments been made? Anybody want to add any more comment? More detail? Any concerns from admin on structure? Hearing none, I will call the vote in the order of comments, question order. To the motion of non-support, yes or no? David?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Karen?
I need to think about this, but yes. I'm voting for the right thing.
Press. Jonathan?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Janice?
No.
Mindy?
Yes.
I'm a yes. So the motion of non-support passes. I can't help but chuckle at the funny Google names, the anonymous Dumbo octopus. But that's passes. Thank you all. That, I believe, is the final project we are reviewing this evening. So I believe that wraps up item C. And we'll move on to the next agenda item. And again, for the folks who are representing the applicant, yeah, if you're still here, we will get those formal comments to you in the next few days. Okay.
Thank you very
much. Other business.
Good night.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Jason. Other business. Do we have any work planning update? Mr. Peter.
Yeah, I'll just keep it short. We did present some work to date on the boundary adjustment and the bylaw amendment, and we've since sent some items of clarification to our legal team to understand the specificity that's needed to accurately describe what different exemptions look like. And I think once we have that, it's going to help us very quickly narrow down the different categories, whether they're residential, commercial, or what have you, into a list of exemptions that can go into a bylaw. We're also working with the subcommittee on the boundary and some of the issues around selecting corridors in their entirety as opposed to selecting portions of corridors that better reflect what EDC is trying to do. So just stay tuned on that. And all of this is being advanced because we're going to be looking at some engagement with industry sometime late in October or the beginning of November. And that's the update.
Thank you so much. Any questions on that? Well, let's move on to item E, upcoming applications. So far, there's one.
Yeah, and we do want to note here that these are tentative. Like we've been in the habit of listing them in the agenda, but it's not reasonable to do that because we don't actually have packages from these people. So, it's a bit of a cart before the horse to say that these people are coming, but tentatively, this is what we have on the schedule. So it's really there just more for your information.
Is there anyone who has regrets or anticipating conflicts for September 16th?
I potentially have a regret, Janice.
A potential regret, which is no small thing. So good to know. Thank you so much. Well, other than that, looks okay. Any other? Yeah, looks good. Moving to item F, adjournment. Any opposition to adjournment? Hearing none. I didn't think there would be. I'll adjourn the meeting of the Edmonton Design Committee. Next meeting is scheduled for 2 weeks from today, Tuesday, September 16th at 4 p.m. Thanks all for your patience, for all your diligence. And good. I'll close the meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Great job, Chair Neil.
Have a good night.
All right, everyone. Bye.